that sophisticated of an operation. The main aspects to conduct an operation like this are timing. That's all. This is basic reconnaissance in an open society. Anybody can jump on that airplane and travel back and forth to see if what the times have been, how late has it been over a 3-month period of time. Get a ratio of when do you think it's going to take off, and you're within a few minutes of your target. They were within 15 minutes of hitting the first tower and the second tower, or somewhere around there. I know,
but the information that we have now shows that they were training in the U.S. down in Florida, that there was a well-coordinated effort. It seems to me that if they didn't pick up anything, you might have a failure somewhere along the line. One last question that just occurred to me. You're a security expert. I've been very troubled by our open borders and the failure of the INS to supervise undocumented aliens of all kinds from coming in here with narcotics, with all kinds of stuff. I just think that we're just an open border here, that anybody who wants to come in can come in, and that's a security nightmare.
Absolutely, sure it is, and that's, you know, it's a joke about the drug problems and the drug war and all the illegal aliens coming in. But INS has even reported on themselves that they're so backlogged and understaffed and underfunded and so on and so forth, and all the excuses not to do their job. But yes, clearly it's got to be corrected. But I think the real issue here, Bill, is why were 2 aircraft within 60 seconds of each other hijacked from a U.S. airport, which ended up resulting in a net loss of some thousands of people.
I mean, and there's no question the airline security
That's where the problem is. It's not a total failure of the intelligence community.
I think there's a combo there, Mr. Taylor, but we respect your opinion and appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, let's go now to San Francisco, where standing by is former FBI profiler Candace DeLong, who knows how these investigations go down. I was impressed. I've been a critic of the FBI under Louis Freeh. I thought the agency was poorly run. And I laid a lot of that at Mr. Freeh's doorstep and not being an effective leader. But I was very impressed today with the FBI's quick reaction, 36 hours, knocking down a lot of suspects, gathering a lot of information. How did you see it?
I was very proud. I thought it was wonderful. And as a result of how much progress they made today, I believe very strongly they probably will, this investigation will lead to whoever, if there are other people that financed these terrorists yesterday, it will be found out, and probably relatively soon. It's going so well.
All right. Now, when you find people, we have 5 suspects in custody right now. It's a matter of debate whether they've been arrested, but they're being detained. In this kind of an operation, is it usual that these little people, you know, these are the support staff, would know who the big boys are?
Possibly they might, but my guess is, even if they don't, I mean, the FBI needs as much information as they can get from these associates, as it were, as they can on the behavior, the conversations that they had with these people, everything of that nature. All right, they may find that there was a bad connection.
All right. Does the let's see how I should put this. The interrogation get a little bit more intense at this level because of the horrendous nature of this crime, these terrorist acts? It seems to me that if I were interrogating these people, I wouldn't take no comment for an answer, if you get my drift here.
I get your drift. And I used to work terrorism in the 80s in Chicago, and you know, despite how Hollywood would perceive us to the public, you know, I mean, there's only so much you can do. We have to abide by the Constitution.
All right, so there isn't any a special effort or a little bit more brutality being used against people like this?
Brutality, I've never witnessed that or heard of it in my 20 years with the FBI.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because I can tell you stories. My grandfather told me he was an NYPD guy, and you know, there was a little bit. Now, when you get a situation where the FBI is thrown into a case that is so wide-reaching, and the press is all over, you know what I mean? I mean, we want to know everything real time when it happens.
Right.
And the FBI has been giving us a lot of information, which doesn't always happen. Is it wise for them to do that?
Well, I think in some cases it is, and I think so. In this case, it is. We've never had anything like this before. Prior to this was Oklahoma City, and we said we never had anything like that before. And I think oftentimes giving the public a certain amount of information can be helpful.
Well, it is psychologically helpful to the public. I mean, they need something to be optimistic about. They need to know, and I know that's why this is being done. But in Oklahoma City, we didn't get all the information. There were a lot of loose ends that weren't tied up in that investigation, as you know. And it wasn't a pure, clean investigation. There are even things today that people say, look, a lot of these guys who helped these bombers out got away with it, and the FBI wrapped it up nice, but that's not the way it went down. In this case, all information points to this guy, Osama bin Laden, as we were discussing with Mr. Taylor, but I'm not so sure that he's the sole purveyor of this. I just have a feeling there might be more to it than that.
Well, that's why cool heads have to prevail here, and that we don't, there was so much talk yesterday about let's go get him and, bomb the place and, let somebody else sort it out later. But we really can't do that. We have to do a very thorough and complete investigation so that we do get all of the players. Okay.
Now, when the FBI swings into action like this, is it a command center, Washington, D.C., or what happens? I mean, who gets involved and how does it go down?
The FBI has crisis management plans for every field division. They have a rapid deployment computer system and support system for things like this. We practice. Every field division has practice exercises every couple of years. In fact, San Francisco had one planned for yesterday and today when this happened. There's probably a command center in New York City, Washington, and as well as, of course, command center at FBI headquarters.
All right. Now, do you think the FBI is going to take any heat for this after it's done, for not preventing it? Because, of course, their charge is to deal with the terrorists. The CIA's overseas, FBI is domestic. They didn't have any idea this was going to go on. Do you think they're going to take some heat?
From some people, of course. These groups are very, very difficult to infiltrate or penetrate. And in fact, and this is going to sound like a FBI cheerleader on my part, we do prevent an awful lot of terrorist acts. And, if you're going to have 100 attempts, unfortunately, one might get through. This was a horrible one. Of course, there will be some critics that will say we should have been more on top of this, we should have known. But when you think about it, Bill, I mean, if a crime is very, very well planned, and this one was well orchestrated, perfectly synchronized, and if this group was, banded together in an ideal that they were doing this, willing to die for it, that's probably the type of group that's going to be successful.
It was too easy to hijack those planes, Mr. Long. That's the thing that sticks in my mind. It was too easy to get those planes. You just can't have that kind of a system. You got to protect Americans better than that.
I agree.
All right, Mr. Long, thanks very much. We appreciate your expertise. All right, now let's go to the social ramifications of the terrorist act. All our lives are going to change. I mean, it's as simple as that. The whole country is going to change, and we're going to be inconvenienced. There are going to be investigations of the investigations. There are going to be finger-pointing. The whole political tone is going to change. We're going to get into this very in-depth tomorrow, but right now I want to bring in Bill Bennett from Washington. He is the co-director of Empower America, and just today, Mr. Bennett and a number of other people call for a declaration of war by President Bush. Against whom, Mr. Bennett?
Well, the militant wing of Islam, the Islamic Jihad, and all their associates. I don't think this is a hard one to figure out.
Would that include Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian nation?
Whoever's linked up with it, and we'll see what the investigation says. But, with Osama, we already know that he's taken credit, or at least not denied, responsibility for the actions in Africa and the USS Cole. We got plenty of grounds to bring him in and to go after him. And I'm sure our people know who else was involved. Or if they don't, they'll know soon. Could I comment on that, Bill? Because these two guests are, I think, illustrative of the point I'd want to make. There's nothing wrong with our operatives. We probably need more people. We probably should spend more money. When I was director of drug policy, I didn't have any problem getting information from the great DEA guys in Colombia and in Mexico. Our operatives were great. They told us what was going on. The problem was inaction at the bureaucratic level. You had people who just didn't want the trouble. It's easier to explain if you don't take action.
All right, give me an example. We've had tantalizing accusations from you and Mr. Taylor now. Give me an example, because you were there in the seat. You're America's drug czar. You know who these thugs are who are importing all of this heroin and cocaine. All right, you want to take action against them. Give me a specific example of what happened. Walk us right through it.
All right, I'll give you an example. We knew where all the cocaine processing labs were in Colombia. It was a finite number of processing labs. We knew where they were. We knew we could take them out. We knew if we took them out, the Colombian government would not praise us, but they wouldn't condemn us. They'd be neutral. We knew we could do it in a night. We could do it from the time the sun went down and get it done before the sun came up. We could essentially disrupt cocaine, the trafficking in cocaine, for a year. Could they rebuild the cocaine processing plants? Yes, they could. It would take them a year. It would cost them a lot of money, and then we could do it again, because they had no way to stop us. You know why? Because we're the United States of America, and when we decide to do something, we can get it done. At the level where the decisions were made, in discussions at the cabinet and sub-cabinet level, that's where this recommendation went down. I'm not going to give you the specific names of the people who opposed me, but some of them have been on TV taking a very hard line.
Yeah.
About.
Well, this was under this is at the Reagan administration. Right?
No, this is in Bush administration.
The first
Secretary of Education in Bush administration.